there's two camps. There's a camp that says DeSantis won't run directly against Trump, and there's a camp that says no, he's going to run because the opportunity is so hot right now for DeSantis with the record he's had in Florida the last 2 years. This is a perfect time for him to run. Where do you stand with that?
First of all, he needs to get himself reelected. He's got a contest this November. He should not take that for granted. I think he's favored, but Florida's not a red state and it's not a blue state. It's a purple state, and the governor is very popular. I'm certainly going to vote for his reelection, but he's also very polarizing. Richard Nixon lost the presidency in 1960, decided to run for governor in 1962 on his way to the 64 nomination. Something went wrong. He didn't get elected governor, and that was the end of that comeback attempt.
Interesting.
DeSantis, I think, would be wise to pay attention to the contest before him, before he gets ahead of himself. He would be a formidable candidate. I don't deny that. But he doesn't have the charisma that Trump has. He doesn't have the presence that Trump has. The governor's very good in a controlled atmosphere. When he has the microphone and nobody else does, he does great. But he's not self-deprecating. He's not funny. He's not entertaining. He's kind of stiff.
You said Trump's self-deprecating?
All the time. Yeah, absolutely. Trump makes jokes about himself.
And you say DeSantis is kind of a stiff.
Kind of a stiff. I mean, he's very focused. He's very disciplined, which is a key factor in politics. But he's not very charismatic. He's a little boring. He's a little boring.
Is charisma the most important quality a president could have?
We live in the television age. You know, they asked Ronald Reagan, "Do you think it was detrimental to your prospects to be president that you were an actor?" And he said, I don't see how a guy who wasn't an actor could ever do this job.
This is in 1980 or prior to that?
When he was president.
Oh, well.
I don't see someone who's not an actor can do this job. Can you imagine that line for Reagan to say, which makes sense? Okay.
Is Rick in the Trump camp? Where do you stand on this? You live in Florida, so you probably have strong opinions on DeSantis, Trump, all that.
Well, I voted for Trump both times. I think that he has put together the best policies for this country. I love his patriotism. I love his support for law enforcement and, of course, for our military, special military and law enforcement and federal agencies. I also like DeSantis. I think that he's done an incredible job here in Florida. And I've talked to a lot of people about this. A lot of people don't want DeSantis to run because they don't want him to leave Florida. Yeah. It's a very selfish part
Pat
of it.
has been very vocal about that, yeah?
That's a big concern a lot of Floridians have. But I think the biggest question is the following. And I'm curious to know what you say about this. So you know how in MMA or in boxing, certain people that come from the same camp, they don't fight each other. And then if they do, there's a big, rift. There's a big falling out between the two. Yeah, Masvidal had a falling out with Kobe. They used to come from the same camp. So if you follow MMA, you're both, so you hear stories like that. What do you, so visualize the stage, which is what everybody is wanting to see if it's going to happen or not. Oh, first Republican, presidential debate on the Republican side. Okay, so we're looking at all the candidates on stage. You're going to see, say, Rubio, maybe Cruz. You see all the candidates that we see, right? They're on the stage. Maybe Mayor Suarez, I don't know. But you got these names on the stage, right? They're debating. Everybody knows it's really two names. It's not any other names. The other guys are up there just to kind of be up there, but we know it's only two names. Do you remember the scene when Kamala Harris went right after Biden? Do you remember that one scene when Kamala Harris went after Biden?
Busing back in the 80s.
And then surprisingly, she ends up becoming a VP, which is a very weird thing that happens. But what happens when these two go at it? What happens when they call each other out? Who calls who out first? How is the market going to take it? How are Republicans going to take it? How are Democrats going to use it? How are the other side going to be prepared? Let's just say Trump takes a shot at DeSantis. Is DeSantis going to come out strong towards Trump? If DeSantis comes out first and takes a shot at Trump, is Trump going to come out and bully him like he typically does? Is that good for the party? Have they spoken prior? Are they going to call each other out and say, listen, hey, DeSantis, we know it's you and I. Let's take it easy on each other. Is that going to be the conversation? Or is Trump going to say, nah, I'm not going to do that. We're going at it to see who's going to win. How do you see this happening?
Boy, there's not too many questions there. First of all, it's 2 years from now, and 2 years is a lifetime in politics. A month is a lifetime in politics. Governor DeSantis did not fare very well in his two debates with Mayor Gillum. Again, an uncontrolled atmosphere. He does very well in a controlled atmosphere where he has the podium and the microphone. Trump will be entertaining, always entertaining. And that's very important in our culture. I mean, politics is entertainment. The worst thing in politics to be is boring. Trump is never boring. But to handicap something that's 2 years from now is extraordinarily difficult.
But you did that 30 years, though. You handicapped 30 years prior to Trump being president.
I was just able to
That's even more difficult.
I was just actually able to see a prime piece of political horseflesh. I was prepared to see a guy who I thought had the size, I don't mean the physical size, but the presence and the courage and the stamina and the willingness to say anything, to be an interesting and provocative, not only candidate, but then have the courage to be a strong president. Trump broke the mold. I mean, before Trump, we had no president who wasn't a general or a senator or a governor. We never had a business person as president. So on paper, Trump shouldn't have been able to win. He broke all of the rules. Didn't spend millions of dollars on network television advertising. Still got elected president. So I still think he's the favorite. On the other side of the coin, not to shock you, but my prediction on the Democratic nominee for president in 2024, Michelle Obama, almost certainly.
I agree.
You're saying most certainly.
Yeah, I mean, this book tour.
Did you see what she said yesterday?
Yeah, she's out.
Yeah, she's out there being very. Go ahead. She's being
out,
very active right now.
I mean, she's out doing this book tour, these voter registration drives, and so on. She's certainly not doing it for the money. So, no, I think she's positioning herself. And by the way, I think she'll be a very formidable candidate.
You think she could beat Trump?
Too far away. Are gas prices the same as they are today? Do we have food shortages? Are we still dying from this rampant inflation? Are we shipping $40 billion to Ukraine when we can't spend $5.7 million to seal our southern border? I mean, the issue situation today would favor any Republican at least in the next election round and perhaps the following round. But again, Reagan had a sour economy in the middle of his first term. The economy was roaring by the end of his first term, and he got reelected.
So meaning if things change and Powell increasing the rates, doing what he does, maybe flattens inflation, and then he can lower interest rates a little bit. So then we go back to having a decent economy, and gas prices go lower. Everything is now a little bit more settled. You think the likelihood of Biden getting reelected is higher, or you just don't think he's going to run again?
I don't see him running again.
Okay,
in
got
the final
it.
analysis.
So no matter what on the left, it's going to be somebody else outside of Biden, is what you're saying.
That is my belief. Yeah.
Do you also agree?
Absolutely.
Who do you think it's going to be?
I don't know. And the news of Michelle Obama scares me because she is, I consider her a very drastic left-wing individual. From my, and I'm not a politician, that's obvious, but from my perspective, the far right is always going to vote right, and the far left is always going to vote left. So we need a candidate, especially in our Republican Party, somebody that could bring in that middle America, that average American out there that finally cannot afford to be the silent majority anymore and become a not so silent majority.
Well,
are you going to, when you said that, are you saying DeSantis? Is that kind of where you were going with that?
No, neither one. Either one.
Okay.
I let the best man win, but I know which way I would be voting would be still that way.
But let me ask you a question, Roger. From your having done this for a while, how often do candidates, leading candidates of the same party, talk to each other before the first debate?
Oh, almost always.
And what does that call sound like? What's that conversation sound like?
It can be like the way off in a prize fight. They can trash talk each other. Right. But I think the president's kind of nonchalant about this. He was quoted in the New Yorker last week as saying, "Look, it's his prerogative. If he runs, he runs. I'll beat him." I think that's the right attitude.
Got it. But it's not. Deals are not made pre, or are deals made pre-first debate that takes place?
I don't think anybody makes a deal because everybody goes into that debate thinking, I'm the guy. This is my opportunity to break through. Maybe I'm back in the pack right now, but this is my opportunity to break through. The field will winnow pretty quickly because Trump is so completely dominant. The only one, as you correctly pointed out, who potentially is a challenger who can get anything together is Ron DeSantis. I mean, Mike Pompeo. Go out on the street in front of the studio and ask the first 7 people you see who Mike Pompeo is. They don't even know who Marco Rubio is, and we live in Florida.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.